Welcome back to the second portion of gathering information, and I remind you, as we did previously, that 98% of all statistics are made up. In this second portion, we will continue the discussion by looking at types of questions that may be utilized in a survey design. Question development requires much thought. Prior to actually wording the questions, you need to determine the type of question that will be utilized. And in this little discussion, we're going to examine the following question types. We will look at multiple choice. We will look at two alternative response, rating scales, ranking scales, short answer, and the selection of question type guides the question development. Now, when you develop questions, all questions must be free from bias. You do not want to ask a biased question to lead the respondent to a certain conclusion. You want the questions to be free from bias. The first type of question that we will look at is a multiple choice question, and they're generally of this form. You would ask a person to select the best answer for a statement. You would give them a wrong answer, a marginally correct answer, an absolutely wrong answer, and an absolutely correct answer. Of course, multiple choice questions are often utilized to test knowledge or skill sets, and multiple choice can also be used to select a specific grouping such as age. In other words, select the appropriate age category and those type things. Two alternative response questions are usually of the true, false, yes, no variety. These questions ask the participant to choose either one view or the other, and some examples follow. Here's a classic example of a true-false question. Indicate if the following statement is true or false. Circle your response. True or false? The person teaching this course knows what he is doing. You probably have a definite response to that. Here's a really cool yes or no question. Select either yes or no. Yes or no, have you stopped beating your wife yet? That's a famous question that was asked on a radio station of a radio announcer who demanded that a politician answer a question, yes or no. Let that one sink in a minute. What would your response be? And for you ladies out there, have you stopped beating your husband yet? You could just change the word. Rating scale questions ask the user to rate items or statements according to a Likert scale. Now, I know his name was George Likert, but these are called Likert Scales. And once something is out there, it kind of sticks. If you have a real problem with that and you like Haley's comment, I will remind you that it was discovered by Edmund Halley. The Likert scale can range from 1 to anything. A lot of times they'll go from 1 to 4, 1 to 5. I've seen Likert scales out from 1 to 10. You know, you go in the hospital and rate your pain from 1 to 10. Well, yeah, am I supposed to rate it before or after I get my bill? Now, generally instructions are given as to the interpretation of the scale. An example follows. Please rate the following according to the following scale. 4, very satisfied. 3, somewhat satisfied. 2, dissatisfied. And 1, very dissatisfied. Circle your answer. And it might say, here's the statement. Rate the availability of information required to do my job. From a 4 where I'm very satisfied down to a 1 where I'm very dissatisfied. Ranking scale questions ask the user to rank items by importance or any other criteria. An example follows. Please rate the following activities by order of their perceived level of importance. Rank from 1 to 5, with 1 being the most important. And here they are. Fishing, hunting, yard work, boating, and camping. It's going to be hard to come up with that. I definitely know what number 5 is, but the others are going to be a little bit difficult to get a hold of. Short answer questions are used to elicit information for participants, and some examples follow. What one thing could be done to improve production? What other training topics would you like to see in the next workshop? These sorts of questions allow the trainer the opportunity to validate the information sought in the survey. For instance, if you ask what one thing could be done to improve production, and you look at those responses, you can compare those to the responses on the survey, and you might be able to determine whether or not the survey measured what it should have measured. I generally like to end the survey with a short answer question to obtain insight into the thinking of the participants. And I like to use that one thing could be done too, blah, blah, blah. Now we're going to do some guidelines for information collection. Information must be done fairly and without bias. The objective is to seek a clear description of the desired topic. The objective is not to promote the opinion of the management, administration, or trainer. Now, I know some of y'all probably saw that old survey that went out several years ago, and it comes up and it says, survey as to whether or not you think your raise was adequate, and had yes or no. And when you try to click on no, no runs from you on the screen, and you finally give up and click on yes, and it says, thank you, we knew that's the way you'd feel, you'll hear from us next year. Well, surveys can be done in a very biased manner to promote a specific agenda. That is not our purpose here. It is simply to fairly and honestly collect information. Anonymity is an important tool for gaining valid information. Will the survey be anonymous or not? If it is not anonymous, then the respondents need to know, and if it is anonymous, then the anonymity needs to be respected. And you need to decide whether it is or is not going to be anonymous up front. It makes a big difference in how that survey is answered. If they're to be anonymous, you've got to protect the respondents. Failure to do so will result in a loss of trust. If you lose trust, your needs assessment, all your training, all is invalid. It won't be worth anything at all. Now, the last thing we want to look at are some of the issues and concerns relating to the collection of information. Mark Twain is quoted as saying, figures don't lie, but liars figure. Now, what he means is that information can be manipulated to make any statement, whether the statement is true or false. Be careful when you're talking to a salesman and they want to show you facts and figures. They can convince you of anything based on the facts and the figures. That's not our objective in administering a survey. Our objective is not to skew the information or to make the information say something, but simply to gather information and to present that information so that it can be fairly analyzed. You must make every effort to free the process from bias, personal or otherwise. The initial interpretation of the data must provide meaningful and legitimate information based on the survey results. Bias in a survey question will kill you. It will destroy your legitimacy and everything else that you're trying to accomplish. Failure to protect the survey results invalidates the needs assessment process. And I remind you that there are many folks out there that already know what they're going to say. They just send the survey out so that they can say it. That's not the purpose of gathering information. The purpose of gathering information is to gather free, valid information to tell us what is actually going on. And if the information says something that we don't want to hear, we hear it anyway because it's the truth. Now, how did we do? The module objectives for these two videos was simply to provide an overview of information collection, to talk to you about key elements in constructing surveys, to talk to you about how to describe or delineate a topic, to provide types of question methodologies, guidelines for information collection, and to alert you to some of the issues and concerns relating to the collection of information. I hope that you got from this presentation what you intended to get. Again, I want to thank you very much for your support. Your patronage keeps my family fed. This is old Dr. Dog saying, have a good one. And in the words of the old Trekkies, again, live long and prosper.